Welcome, everyone. This presentation is tips and resources for families with middle school students in the Issaquah School District. My name is Lorna Gilmore, and I am a family partnership specialist. It's a department that exists to help families navigate the school system and to help families as they support their children. Because we recognize that parents sometimes need help to do this and they can't do it alone. This is a teamwork. And just know that you always have support from staff in the district designed to help you, and so feel free to email us, reach out when you have questions on how to navigate and understand systems, processes, procedures, policies. In fact, I'm not sure if I said programs in our district. Lena, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the families what schools you work in the middle school.
Hello, my name is Lina Marina. I am one of the family liaisons that work at this school district. I support the schools that are at the south part. They are the feeding schools for Liberty High School.
Thank you very much. A parent just said that in the feedback form, Pine Lake is not listed. In that case, please choose um, Pacific Cascade, and I will sort you out later if I need it, but I'll be able to look you up based on your school. So I apologize for that. Okay, so the purpose of today's presentation is to help families who are new to the school district, especially those that are from other countries, understand how the US public school system works. We also have many families joining us who have homeschooled their children or coming from private school. Some just it's been a while since they went to a middle school and need a refresher course. So this we welcome everyone to the session. Hopefully it'll answer some questions you might have and better prepare you as your child starts middle school in the ISD. We hope to share helpful information and websites to show you where to go if you have questions and to help you in the future. When we had a consultant look at our and see how we can better support our families, one of the things they told us was we had amazing information on our website. It's just many of our families sometimes didn't know where and how to find it. So navigating the website seemed to be problematic for some, and they just didn't know where to start. So hopefully today's session will give you some answers on how to start as you're looking for information as you support your child in middle school. So with that, we start with the school district website. So let's look at the website and see what all it has. So one of the key things about the website is it is translatable, so please note that. This district website also has a link to all of the middle and elementary schools and high schools in our district. On the top, we also have a couple important areas. The portal has access to family access. Clever, you no longer need it unless you have an elementary school child. Canvas. Now, Canvas is key. You are all going to start looking and using Canvas as you support your middle schooler because that's the main portal to find out information about due dates, how your child is doing, what assignments are there, a lot of information on Canvas. Pay online. Several parents asked about PE uniforms and sports fees and clubs. This is all going to be through pay online. So you're going to pay for your PE uniform, your yearbook, your ASB card, and also for sports. My School Bucks, several parents asked about paying for school lunches. You're going to be able to do that through My School Bucks. You can access that account and put in money through your credit card. And just note that it will charge you approximately $3.50 for that. So that's another one. Next, programs and services. My department lives under family partnership. So if you come down here to family partnership, you will see that there are links. A lot of our events will be posted here. Also, our resources. When I sent you the email, I told you that if you were unable to attend our event, the resources for this event will be posted here. So I will be deleting this slide deck from last year and recording and posting the new one. In addition, I did an event on clubs and sports, activities and events on August 11th, and that recording and slide deck are posted over here. Next, we will be doing an event on Canvas, and I will post the Canvas slide deck and information. Oh, yeah, it's right here. I will post the slide deck for the Canvas information session over here. It'll be posted over here. Before I do that, because you're going to be able to get access to Canvas by the end of this week, if you would like to just try to set up and do Canvas on your own, please don't hesitate. Not too many of the instructions have changed to come here and learn more about it. Next, there is a section on who to contact. So if you go to the Contact Us, it's a good way to use the directory to look for people, but this section also has an important tab. One of the feedbacks we got from parents is when they were trying to figure out bus routes, or when their child had problems with their laptop, or when they were trying to figure out how to figure out their lunch balance, or number one, you can always reach out to the family partnership team, one of the school liaisons or me, or if you want to look it up on your own, we have created a resource link for you so that you can learn and do it on your own. And you can say, okay, I have a question on clubs. Where can I go? And where would it be situated? Where would this information be living? So we created this who to contact directory so that you can get this information. In addition, sometimes families new to the school, new to the district, they wonder, well, I have a problem or I have a question or an issue. Who should I contact? So we have a step guide ladder to help you figure out, is this a teacher problem? Is this an assistant principal or principal problem? Or when do I take it to the next level, which is the principal's boss, known as the executive directors. So all of that information is also here. And if you're not quite sure still, if it's the first person to contact is your teacher or the principal or assistant principal, again, don't hesitate to call us and we will tell you. Usually, if it's a question or concern in the classroom, if kid is missing assignments, you're not sure how to navigate the class, it's the teacher. If it's some kind of behavioral, academic, like a larger concern covering multiple classes and periods, then a school counselor would be good. If there's some kind of behavioral issue with other kids or there's something else bigger going on, definitely bring it to the attention of the principal or the assistant principal. So as I mentioned, we have family liaison. So on that website that I showed you, the family partnership site, we have the contacts for the 3 family liaisons. Lena has joined us today, and Lena, as she said, works at Maywood Middle School and Cougar Mountain Middle School. We have another liaison named Liliana, and she supports all families at IMS and Pacific Cascade. And then finally, Wenli Mittal works at Beaver Lake and Pine Lake. Now, these liaisons are in the buildings. They work in actually about 9 buildings, but they go to different buildings different days. So you can either meet them at your middle school or one of the elementary or high schools, depending on what their schedule allows, but they're there to be a resource for you to help you navigate the school. And they are ISD employees to help connect you with different staff, answer questions regarding programs, policies, procedures in the schools. And they really act as a bridge between the family and the school. And if you need it, they can also act as a liaison to help arrange an interpreter for meetings or communications, or let the school know, hey, can you make sure they're really interested in finding this out, but they need a liaison and they also need a little bit more information about how this works. So for example, if your child needs a 504 plan, which is a plan for a student that has a disability that is impacting their learning, then that is severely impacting or impacting it enough that they need the support, then you can talk to them, hey, my child has this issue. How do I go about getting help? And they can talk about that. Or they might help you understand what a special services, special education program is. So if you're looking for a highly capable, better understanding, they can help you get the base information and then guide you to the appropriate person to give you more information about that. Next, so the school district. The school district is comprised of 27 schools. We have 6 middle schools. All of you will be then, your schools are already connected to your high school. So know that once your child has completed 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, at the end of 8th grade around March, your child will then start selecting courses that they will then take in high school. So high school acceptance, I should say, is guaranteed. In the Issaquah School District, it is an automatic process from elementary to middle to high school. You don't have to apply per se. It's automatically guaranteed based on your address. So as long as you live in a certain address, that address guarantees you admission into a high school. And so you do have to fill out some paperwork for courses that you want to take and make sure the school has, all your confidential health forms and EVP kind of process things. But the school will kind of walk you through that starting March of your 8th grade year. The school district has a calendar that we will look at, and also each school has a more detailed calendar as to what's happening at that school. One of the things I want to make sure is many times some parents are confused because Pine Lake might be doing things differently on a different date than IMS. Note that each school will have events and slight differences within the school, but some of the big dates, like the first day of school, last day of school, end of trimester, and so forth, is all the same. So we currently have a couple no school dates. I would watch out for that because there are as you read in the school district bulletin, and if you've not, no worries, more information will be sent. There was a change made, and the district might be changing a couple of these no school days during the course of the year. But note, the first day of school is still going to still going to stay the same, which is this Thursday. The last day of school right now is Wednesday, June 17th. But I need to remind you all, based on the number of snow days or windstorm days or whatever happens in the district. Last year we had the bomb cyclone, which caused a little bit of chaos, and we had to close the district for many days. And school was released about 4 days later than anticipated. So, no, if we have severe weather, we will have to make up those days because legally Washington State requires us to attend the students to be in school for a certain number of days. We build in snow makeup days, but sometimes even with the built-in snow makeup days, as was demonstrated last year, it's just not enough. And so we have to figure that out. So schedule, and if possible, schedule appointments and vacation while students are on break, and no school days and Wednesday mornings when possible. Wednesday mornings are great times to schedule appointments. For me, I look and see when my child has a class that is a little bit more flexible, no school days, and anything that I can do after 3 o'clock is always good, since on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, they get done with enough time for me to make. I might be taking them out of school half an hour early, but with enough time. Okay, so the school site. So let's look at the school site so we can navigate this a little bit more. So I usually go directly to the school, or I start in the district website, because the district website is so easy for me to type in, ist411.org. So let's look at Pacific Cascade Middle School. So Pacific Cascade Middle School, they already have some buttons that parents frequently use. So the calendar. So the school calendar is over here. It'll tell you in a calendar form some of the dates, but also will provide you with this information showing you the first day of school, the curriculum night, the school picture day. So a lot of the important information will be over here. Then you also have, this is something that you should look for, and we'll talk more about that. So don't take screenshots of this yet because the school just sent an email today at 4 o'clock saying that the release times of all schools except IMS will be changing to 2:40. So they will be updating this bell time and adding 5 minutes here. But starting on Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, this is a great place to go and look for the bell schedule. So we have the regular bell schedule, which is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Wednesday bell schedule. So Wednesday, because it's a late start, teachers usually have meetings from around 8 to 10 o'clock in the morning. So they're already on campus meeting and working. And then the students come in, and then school is released later on Wednesdays. So it took me a little bit longer to get used to that because I would expect my children home at a certain time on Wednesdays, and I'd wonder, oh, why aren't they home yet? And I'd think, oh, it's Wednesday. So just keep that in mind. And each school's daily schedule may look slightly different. So be familiar with your schools. Don't compare with other schools because each school is going to do it slightly differently. You have, and you'll probably notice some parents have asked me this in the registration form. What is the what is the Links Life, or what is in this one? It's SOAR. So what that is, it's a time where students they do the announcements, daily announcements. Sometimes they do a lesson on social emotional learning, and sometimes they might in eighth grade they might do an activity for college preparedness. And even in seventh grade, they'll start doing some activities that are part of something called high school and beyond. So it's when they do district required mandated activities, because what happens, and this used to happen to me when I was a middle school teacher for 15 years, they would say, oh, we need to do this survey to all students. So we have to take some time out of the class. Let's do it in first period. And all the teachers would say, no, no, if you do it in first period, it's going to mess up my entire day. Or they'd say, let's do it in English. And the English teachers would say, no, now we've lost teaching time. We already don't have enough time in a year to teach our material. So they came up with a specific time to take care of school business, such as announcements, any kind of training, any kind of social emotional learning, any kind of surveys, high school and beyond activity. All of that happens during a very specific time in the school. And so that happens at all middle schools. And in high school, they also have something like that. So note that this continues on into high school. So that you're going to find this information um, under belt schedules, I said. And then the next one is, I'm going to talk about, I got distracted. Okay, attendance. If your child is absent, just note that we have the attendance policy and everything listed here. What happens if you have a prearranged absence or late dismissal, early dismissal, late arrival? All that information is posted here. Note, you should always either email the attendance office, and this information is always posted at the bottom of the website. So keep that in mind. It's always in the bottom of the website, which is the school's telephone number and email. So you can easily access it on your cell phone if needed when your child is absent to let them know what's going on. And make sure you let them know they're sick, their dentist appointment, whatever's going on, please excuse them. And if you don't let them know, you will get a call during the course of the day saying your child is absent. Please respond as soon as possible. It's to notify you, but it's also kind of sent to activate you to do something and submit a reason for your absence. Because if your child has too many excused or unexcused absences, you will be invited to meet with the school for a meeting to explain kind of what's going on and why your child has so many attendance concerns. Another one over here is a supply list, and that is under academics. So several parents asked, well, what do I need to bring to school as school starts? So that is also up here on supply list. So keep in mind, I think I have a slide on this, so I'm going to wait and talk about this link in a few minutes. So let's make sure I covered everything. So I showed you where the family access is, the fees and fines, pay portal, attendance, email, and information, upcoming events, school announcements, our email to you. We talked about the bell schedule, community flyers. So let me actually make sure I talk about those two items, and then we'll move on. So for community flyers, we're going to go to a school. And let's say in the school, under student, it's okay, under families and community, you'll see a tab that says community flyers. And community flyers usually has other opportunities that are available. These are not, most of the time, they're not related to the school. They're outside companies that might be trying to share and advertise their opportunities with the school, and that information will be posted here. Okay, so many of you already went to an event called Web if you have a sixth grade child, and it's called Where Everybody Belongs. And most of the time it's for sixth graders. Some schools have it for sixth graders and new seventh and eighth graders. It's a time where they do icebreaker activities to build community and relationships and connect us sixth graders to help them feel welcome. They do tours of the school, they do fun activities, they get to engage with other sixth graders. They talk about lockers, how to use it, how to keep it organized, if locker culture is important at that school. So they do many activities during the web day. Now, for many of the schools, Beaver Lake, Cougar Mountain, Maywood, and Pacific Cascade, they already did their web day on August 20th. Now, at Pacific Cascade, there's an open house coming up, but it looks like August 27th, there's a sixth grade event from 8 to noon. And also at Issaquah Middle, there's a incoming sixth grade event from 8 to noon. So those are two great opportunities. If you somehow missed it, I know a couple of the schools have optional self-guided tours. And if they don't, you might want to call the school and see if that's an option for you between now and Wednesday. The other big thing to note is you're going to be invited to something called Curriculum Night. And Curriculum Night is a great opportunity, honestly, not to about the curriculum, but just to meet the teacher, find out what the class is like. The teachers very often share important information about their grading, big projects coming up, information that is relevant and important for you to figure out how you can best support your child. So one of the big questions you had in the registration was, will my child have homework? How much homework will I have? How can I help my child with their lessons? Those are all information, that's all information that is going to be best answered during curriculum night, because at each school there's approximately 40 teachers and there are six schools, and so you're going to have a combination of different teachers. So I can't give you one answer. This is not a one answer fits all. So it's going to be dependent on what classes your child is taking and that teacher. Very often, I can say though, in sixth grade, teachers don't give as much homework. Now, if your child is taking a more advanced or an accelerated math, or an accelerated like path two for science, then they might be doing a little bit more homework or more homework than they would if they were going through the regular pathway in sixth grade. And right now in sixth grade, if your child is starting sixth grade, in middle school, there's really not that many options to course selection. The big one is choosing your science and math pathway. And once you set in your science pathway, you're set for the rest of the middle and high school kind of pathways for a while. There's only a little chance to move it in ninth grade. And same thing with math. You can always come down, but you really can accelerate once you start. And usually they'll ask you to change your pathway early on or to wait till the end of the year. So, be careful in accelerating too high. because if your child doesn't have that good foundation, it sometimes impacts them through the course of that entire year. So just keep certain things like that in mind. So next one we have is the school bell schedule. So each school may have a slightly different schedule. So that's another one. Most of them have the same. Issaquah Middle is ends at 2:45. The other schools will all end at 2:40. And that announcement just came out. Remember that Wednesday, the bell time is different, and I can't remember if that's going to be impacted with the 5 minute change that was released today. The big one to know about bell schedule is at the end of each trimester. So, 3 times through the course of the year, there's an early release day that specifically impacts middle schools and not elementary schools and high schools. High school is impacted by finals week. Middle schools don't have finals week, so that's good. But they have an early release day with schools going to end early. So for sure on Wednesday or Thursday, just double check the website, but or your bus routes, if that's a bus route, to figure out what your bell times are, so you have the up-to-date information. It's going to change. The end of the day will change by about 5 minutes, so that shouldn't impact you too much. So, about being on campus, one of the big things they'll tell you is please don't drop your child off more than 10 or 15 minutes before school starts because they're not allowed to go in. Since they don't have supervision, it's not safe for your child to be freely walking around school too early. And traffic. Oh, some of the areas, it's very, very congested. So please be careful and just kind of watch your drop off and pick up times and plan ahead so your child is not too late. And then special bus schedules. Every now and then, especially when the weather is bad, due to snow or wind or whatever happens, you might have a 1 or 2 hour late start. And when that happens, note that those schedules are also posted on the website. Also, a 1 hour late start, parents constantly say, 1 hour late start, what time does the school start? Well, the answer is exactly 1 hour later than it would start on a regular day. Same thing with 2 hour late starts. What time does it start? If school normally starts at 8:15, 2 hour late start, school will start at 10:15. And then finally for transportation, same thing. If it's a 2 hour late start, you're going to go to your school bus stop 2 hours later than you would normally do. I will talk about if your bus route is impacted by snow and what happens then. Sometimes there are special bell schedules because there are assemblies. I know when I was looking through all the school websites, there are many welcome assemblies that are going to be scheduled in September. That's not going to impact you unless you're picking your child up early or something. But in general, when there are assemblies, the school makes sure that all of the kids know what time to what the schedule is and what time classes are ending or beginning. But on the website, you will be able to find the link to all of the schedules. So all of this information is posted under bell schedules on the website. Now, preparing for the first day of school. So, what should I pack and what should I take for my students? Well, the basic supplies that everyone's going to ask you to bring would be a backpack, some black or blue pens, some red pens, highlighters, ruler, eraser, might ask for index cards or sticky notes. They will ask for spiral notebooks for math. Very often they ask for graph spiral notebooks, composition notebooks, some kind of folder to put their handouts in. But those are the basic supplies. Now, sometimes a teacher might ask for additional supplies. So I usually tell parents to look at the school's website, but note that after the first couple of days, a teacher might have specific supplies. So, especially since our school starts before Labor Day, I usually say it's okay if you don't have it all to wait for Labor Day because the first couple of days of schools, the teachers will give you their syllabus and a list of what they would like the child to have, would like them to bring to school every day. So all of that information will be provided for you. And we'll talk more about lunch, but if your child is taking lunch, your child might want to have some kind of lunch bag that would be appropriate for them to put in their backpack, or lunch money either carrying or in the account so they can do that. Now, if your child is if your child needs financial assistance, please note that you can apply for free and reduced lunch. And along with that support, the school foundation also donates school supplies. They're called tools for schools. If you attended the back to school fair, the Issaquah Schools Foundation was providing backpacks and school box kits for students in need of financial assistance. And if you need some, please check in with your school bookkeeper or the school counselor, and they'll be able to help you with school supplies. So preparing for the first day of school and lockers. Your child may have already done that. 4 of the schools have already gone through their web days. If your child has not done that, they still have opportunities to do it. Also check to the school to see if that school, the kids really use their lockers. Because I know at my child's middle school, the kids really don't use lockers much, if at all, but they can still have access to a locker. Also, if your child is using a locker and they are nervous about that, I'm going to tell you in my 15 years working as a middle school teacher, that first week of school, all the teachers on the hallway, and we are running around opening lockers. And while we do so, we also teach the kids how to open their locker. So, no worries for you or your child. There's always staff in the hallway helping kids. I think every day before school started, when school started the first week, I would probably open at least 10 to 12 lockers a day, because I'd be outside in the hall helping kids, and that's all teachers. And some people, usually the custodians and assistant principals, to go faster, they sometimes carry the locker keys to just get it open faster. But don't worry, it happens. And after a couple days of doing this, they figure it out and they can open their lockers. Now, cell phones. This was new because when I was, well, for me, because when I was a teacher, most of our kids didn't come to school with cell phones or have cell phones or smart watches and all of these wonderful electronic devices that now drive teachers crazy. But it's important that you talk to your child and work with your child to help support the school with what the school's policy is. And the school's policy is that all devices should be silenced and stored in the backpacks or placed in teacher designated locations. Now, that is in middle school, the teachers are just going to say, put it away. If we see it, we're going to take it away. At the high school, usually the teachers have a bin that they ask kids to drop their phones in. And so that's the teacher designated location. So note that's not really going to happen in middle school. And so most middle schools are going to say that there is no phones or devices allowed from bell to bell. Okay. And so today in the Issaquah School District bulletin that came out around 4 o'clock, they mentioned the cell phone policy, which was silenced and stowed away. But they also mentioned that some schools may add additional rules to support students at their schools. And at the middle schools, what they have said for many of the schools is no cell phones from bell to bell. So, and that's usually no electronic devices. So I'm going to define that because sometimes parents will say, well, what about my smartwatch? Or what about my laptop, my tablet? Or what about my Bluetooth headphones or something? The school said to have headphones. Well, they're not wanting you to put buds in. The cans are usually better and they need a good signal. And they really only use that when they're taking SBA or certain tests. And then you can also borrow them from the school if you don't have access to it. But the school will tell you that no earbuds or headphones during class time because it is unsafe for kids to be walking around school with that. because they can't hear as well usually. So please make sure they leave it either in their locker or in their backpack somewhere safe so that it is not a distraction. Phones have, sorry, smartwatches have become a big distraction. Sometimes kids cheat with it and sneak in communication in class because they can still do that even though they don't have their cell phones on them. So be very mindful about what you're allowing your child to wear at school and have. And many parents say, well, if you don't let my child have their smart watch or their smartphone, how am I supposed to communicate with them through the course of the day? And usually my answer is, I've been teaching for 25 years, and we were able to communicate with kids before smartwatches and phones came out. You call the school, you leave a message, and that message is then delivered to the school, depending on the urgency of that message. And so that's how it has been and is still with the school. And so just keep that in mind. And if you're not quite sure, you're at curriculum night, there will be opportunities for you to ask these questions with your specific school when you go to curriculum night. Laptops. The great news is that the Issaquah School District will provide every single middle school child a laptop, and also in high school, they'll get a laptop. Please note that your child will need to return the laptop at the end of the school year. It's usually about 1 or 2 weeks before school ends. During EVP, you should have seen a form that said responsible use agreement. Please make sure you completed and agreed to that. Some of you who are brand new to the school, you may have done it during your registration itself to the school. As long as you've done it, no problem, because you need to do it so that your child can really use the laptop. And if you haven't, they're going to ask you multiple times to get it signed so that your child can have access to everything they need. But all students also, because they have a laptop, the parents have access to something called Securely, and Securely gives you access to let you know what websites your child has been using. The school district has also shut down several websites that they don't want your children to be using. And if you look at Securely, you'll also see, and I'm going to be releasing a video to give you more information on Securely, but that will also give you more information about how you can turn off your laptop. Because I've had parents say, my kid is doing homework at 10:30, or my child is on there surfing the web at whatever time. Well, the good news is because we have access to Securely, you can set the rules as to what time your child's laptop will stop having access, and what time they'll be able to access certain programs on their laptop. My only recommendation and funny story to this is tell your child you're doing it, because my child tends to be a late person, and sometimes she'd be trying to submit homework at 10:30, and then one day she said, I don't know what's happening, my computer just won't work at night. And I was like, oh, that's because I shut you down at 10:30. And she's like, Mom, why I submit homework? I'm like, one, you should be asleep, and so that shouldn't be an issue. But now you have an incentive. And if that's happening, let me know and we'll figure it out. But just kind of figure out what time your child submits assignments, because I realized last year that my child likes to submit her homework between 10 and 10:30. And I had shut down her Wi-Fi or her laptop access to um, the internet pretty much after 10 o'clock. Another important and great thing is most, if not all, of our textbooks are now online. So your child will have access to an actual paperback copy of a textbook, which I would strongly recommend you have them get. And they don't all automatically get it. Some of them they do, and some of them you have to go to the bookkeeper and get it. But I know my child likes to have a hard copy of the book, bring it home, use it at home, or you can use the online version of the book. It's a great resource. I like it because one, it's a book, and two, because of the online textbooks, kids don't have to carry textbooks back and forth. So it saves a lot of back issues in the long run. And as I said, the school district laptops have already been installed with required district software for web filtering, securely web screen monitoring, so the teachers can see what the kids are doing, and special applications, secure browser for state and federal testing. So when we give them the SBA and other tests. So because of this, and the district is unable to install a lot of these programs on personal laptops, we do ask that all students use the laptops assigned by the school district when they are doing work, school work at school. Some kids want to use their Macs and their other personal laptops or their surfaces, but the answer is no. Please use your school laptop at school. So understanding the trimester grading. So just a note that the school year is divided into 3 periods. So if you're coming, many schools are semester, just halfway through the year, which is January, it ends, and then a new semester begins. So a trimester is every 3 or so months, the grading period ends, and then the grades go kind of to zero, and a new trimester with grading starts all over again. Couple things to note that in middle school, we don't really do finals. When your child goes to high school, you'll note that that last week when the semester ends, all the classes are shortened schedule because kids do a final exam in their classes. In middle school, they don't do final exams. So grades are a composition or composed of their different test grades, the different quiz grades. They may do projects or certain assignments. As a science teacher, their lab write-ups for me was a big part of their grade. So there are different parts composed of the grades, and then you have this composition of different grades coming together. And then based on that, your child will score or will have earned a grade for that trimester. And then when the new trimester starts, it's basically all gone, and then the new grades start. And all of this information is posted, so it's very visible to you in the learning management system called Canvas, which we'll talk more about. Um, and then you'll be able to see that. Okay, so next one, health. Your child should be up to date with all of their vaccines. And if your child is starting in 7th grade, please note that there is just one extra thing that they are supposed to be getting. But main things to note is all of the middle schools have a registered nurse. All of the schools also have a health room specialist, and those health room specialists are not registered nurses. They're not licensed or professionally trained, but they have some training from the school on how to support the nurse. So it's kind of like a teaching assistant, a para-educator, and that's what they are. Vaccines, the only additional requirement after elementary school is a Tdap, and students need to be up to date. If you just recently moved from another country or from, if you're not sure and you are trying to get help in getting your vaccines, please contact the school nurse. The school nurse can help you get in touch with support for vaccines. If you have insurance, please contact your insurance or your child's pediatrician for vaccines. Things to note is please, if your child has a fever, have vomiting, diarrhea, and especially if they've been doing it in the past 24 hours, please keep your child at home. The schools have classes of nearly 28 to 32 kids in each classroom. And so your child will be exposing multiple kids to illness. So please be mindful of your health, your child's health, as you're sending them to school. Attendance is mandatory for students ages 8 to 18 to attend school. So that could also be homeschool or online school. But when you enroll your child in our school, we will be taking attendance. And if your child is absent, there will be a call left for you to let you know that your child was absent. And if there are too many absences, you will receive a letter of concern about the absences, excused or unexcused. There's a limit to how many even excused absences a child will have before we have a conversation. And really, this is not to punish the family of the child. This is just so that the child and the parents and the school are communicating as to what is going on, how can we support the child, because we recognize that sometimes there's something going on that we don't know, and we might need to support you as a parent to make sure your child is getting the best supports at school. Maybe they need a 504 to help them, or maybe they need another plan to make sure that they are able to access what they need because of their health concerns or other things that are going on. Maybe it's mental health and they're struggling coming to school, there's anxiety or depression. So the school always wants to partner with you and have this conversation. So note that if you're getting communications from school, it's not a gotcha type thing. It's like, hey, what's going on? How can we help? Okay. So keep those things in mind. Canvas. So as I said, my information event is coming on September 15th. I showed you some resources, but one of the main things I want you to know is that there are two Canvas platforms. So I specifically put the blue icon here, and if you go to this one, you'll see this red one. If your child's one is red or on their phone, you're downloading the red one, note that you're downloading the student app. So the students have their own Canvas link, and then you, as a parent, have your own parent link. So as parents, you don't have access to the students in their class, the ability to take a test, the ability to read some other communication because of privacy laws with other students and the teacher and the students in the class. So you have something known as an observer account. So you can see a child's grades, you can see what assignments they have, you can see the comments made by the teacher, you can see the slide deck, so the assignments the teachers put. But you can, for example, in your account, open the school book because we pay for access to the online books and we only pay for access for the student to have access to that. Students, amazing, but all students in the Issaquah School District are given a Microsoft 365 account. So that also allows them to have and their own email, their own PowerPoint, and everything, the entire Microsoft 365 suite access. So that's great. The school students can also access the school library and what's in there. And most of the kids in middle school just start using online books and use Libby and check out books through that. So great resources, accessible all online. Okay, actually, one thing a parent was asking about family access, and just note where the Canvas link is also the family access. So if the person asking for family access, if you go to the school district website, under portals, you'll see family access, and that's how you'll get you will log into your family access account, and that's where you will get to see your child's schedule, and we'll talk about that. Your child's middle school schedule is coming out on Wednesday by 3:30 p.m. So on Wednesday at 3:30 p.m., you can log in and you can look at your child's schedule. And the suggestion is print it out or write it down for them so they have it. And if you can't or if you didn't do it, then they go to school. Many of the schools will give them a printout, and some of the schools they might ask the child to go to the office to get the printout from the office. So it depends on how they're going to share that information. So next one, a big thing parents talk about often is lunch. How does lunch work at school? Well, there are a couple hot lunch options. There's usually there are two hot lunch options, and then the school also sells something called a la carte. So the hot lunch option is part of the free and reduced lunch program, and there's usually a line for the free and reduced lunch options, and very often kids go and buy lunch that and students that are not part of the free and reduced lunch program can also get. The options are great. Um, very often, my child will ask to see the lunch menu and decide, is this a day I want to buy a school lunch or is this a day I want to take my own lunch? So she'll usually look at the school lunch and say, I'm not in the mood to eat pulled turkey enchiladas or this oven fried chicken drumstick with whole grain cornbread sounds great. I want that. And then it gives you this information. It also on the website, There's a digital menu to help you if your child has allergies. Someone asked me, is there something that kids can or cannot bring? Bring your lunches. They don't have access to a refrigerator or a microwave. That was another question asked. So for me, my child likes to eat kind of hottish food. And so noodles or rice and something or soup. And so I have purchased some thermoses so she can put her food in the thermos and then take it to school. Sometimes just a sandwich. But again, I try to give them on hot days, like something that will keep it nice and warm. But honestly, the schools in the winter and fall, there's not an issue of spoilage because they're going to eat food within 3 hours, 4 hours of getting there. But if that is a concern, consider what you're going to, spoilage is a problem, consider how you're going to pack the food. But thermos works. The only thing I'd recommend is that they have you practice because sometimes when you tighten it up, the vacuum seal, it's hard for them to open it when they get to school. Students can use microwaves, but my child in middle school and my child in high school have told me that sometimes the line is too long and they don't like to wait for the microwave. So my children don't do that. School lunch is usually around 30 minutes, and all of the schools have lunches broken down by usually the fourth or fifth period class. So we can look, for example, at Cougar Mountain as an example and see how their lunch is divided, and it looks like their lunch is divided by period four. So what class you're period four will determine if you're first lunch or second lunch, so A lunch or B lunch. And then based on that, they choose friends that they're going to sit with. Unlike elementary school where they have assigned tables, in middle school they sit wherever, sit with friends. If they buy lunch, it'll cost them $4.25, and that includes milk. They can also buy milk separately. Just a fair notice that, oh, there's a typo. Okay. It's fair notice in sixth grade, my kids discovered that they could buy sugary drinks and chips because they were a la carte. And they did enjoy that a little bit. So have a conversation with them if you've put money on your online account. So they're not buying um, too many snacks or snacks at all, or they're not buying food for their friends because sometimes that happens. They might buy some drinks and then, friend says, "Oh, I forgot my lunch," and they'll give it to them because that happens. They shouldn't be sharing their food. So have these conversations with your child before they start school. Okay, so again, a reminder that a parent had asked me a refrigerator, no refrigerator for the food. And the last tip I'm going to give you is that first week of school, lunch lines are very long. So I would strongly recommend at least the first couple of days you send them a packed lunch so they don't have to stand in line as much. The other thing I will tell you is when they go to the way lunch is done is your child will have a lunch number. It's kind of like a number assigned to a child, and most kids have the same number starting in kindergarten. So my kids memorize their number in elementary school sometime. But they'll have a lunch number, and then when they go to the cashier for lunch, they enter their lunch number and their face pops up, and then they walk by, and then the cashier will charge that account, your child's account, for the food they're buying. So, and then for me, I put money on the pay online account at school. So if you go to pay online, my school bucks, I would deposit money. When my kids, sometimes I would send a check and send it to the school office, and they would give it to the lunch office, and they would deposit my check and credit my account with that money. Note, if you don't use the money will be refunded for you, and the money also carries through all of middle school and high school. So I have money that my daughter once had money that I put in her account in sixth grade, and then because of COVID, she was still using it in ninth grade. So that happened. So don't worry about it. And so they have a lunch account, and you can always add money. Um, the If you do my school bucks, I get an email from my school bucks saying your lunch account is low. It has $5. You might want to put money in your account, then I'll go and put money in my account. So just kind of keep those things in mind. It is a good system. It does charge you every time you put money in. So sometimes I personally prefer to put larger sums for my younger daughter because I know that she's going to be in the system for a while. Uh, Transportation. So the transportation information was accessible to you last week on August 21st. I would recommend to you that you look at it again on Wednesday, just because they're still adjusting routes. And yes, this afternoon with the notice that the school is going to be extended 5 minutes, the drop-off time might be slightly different. So for the bus route, you're going to be able to find a lot of information on the site when you look for it. If you're having a hard time logging in, look under the tab that says login issues and see if there's a reason. If you have a confidential address that information, then that might be the reason. Sometimes hyphenated last names or something about the last name causes it to be harder for parents to kind of find. Also, make sure your child is going to the bus stop at least 5 minutes before your bus stop time. That first week of school, sometimes the buses are still figuring out what time. So I'm going to honestly tell you, sometimes they're a little bit late, but I know at least once the bus was early and my daughter missed her bus, but then the bus came back. So not a worry, but just keep in mind that that first week they're figuring it out because the bus drivers are kind of figuring out how long it takes and how crowded it is. The first couple of days of school, note that the bus may be pretty crowded or very empty. And then based on what's going on, as it says on my third bullet, are being adjusted. So be sure to check the e-link again on Wednesday because sometimes they might split a bus stop or add a different bus because the bus is super crowded as they discover on that first week of school. So my recommendation for families is make sure you signed up to get texts from the school. And when you do, check the timing for your child's bus a couple times that first week or two because they may adjust sometimes and routes and such because they're trying to figure it out. Today, in the Issaquah School District bulletin, they send a reminder to all families about school buses. This was a big note about that, about information. So please make sure you're looking at that and that you've read the announcement that you received from the Issaquah School District. If you did not get it, please make sure that you sign up to get announcements from the school district so that you can get this information. But for buses, you go to buses, scroll down. There's a lot of information here, so you can read through that also. Then go to this e-link site, click on the e-link site, and then you're going to put your child's first name, last name with a period in the middle, and then their birth date. And then once you put that in, it's going to give you work with students and then view my students. And then when you do that, you will be able to find all this information, the address that they'll be picking up their bus. Now, this is a couple of years ago, but what time the bus will pick them up, what time the bus will take them to the school, what time the bus will pick them up from the school, what time the bus will drop them off. Note that there is a different time for the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday versus Wednesday. So keep that all in mind. One of the big ones, tell your child this number. This number is important for them to know. This is their route number. So after school, and this is something kids and parents forget all the time, when school ends at the end of the day, your child is going to come out of school and there will literally be like 10, 15, 20 buses all lined up. And they have to find their bus. And their bus is based on this route number. So sometimes easy, you go to the bus stop, a bus comes by, you get on it most of the time. Sometimes it might be duplicates, but coming home for sure, you need to make sure you're on the right bus. And they put a little white paper with a bus number in this front window by the door. to enter the bus. So look for that bus number after school. So you as a parent, please make sure you're giving that number to your child, this route number, so they can know what bus to get on. The other thing I'm going to tell you is if there is snow, then the bus stop may change depending on where you live. Because if you live in an area that is very slopey, hilly, and it's unsafe for the bus to get to your region, your location, because it's too on a too great a slope, your bus stop on snow days on a snow route will be different. So there'll still be transportation, but your child may have to walk more. So make sure when when that happens, you will see E-Link is not available to October because we don't expect that we'll need to use snow routes or adverse weather routes till after October. So if the school district announces it's a snow day or buses are on snow routes, you need to use this link. Okay, this link for snow routes, and this is your regular route. So hopefully you don't have any questions. If you do, we'll answer at the end of the section. Okay, next, sports, forms, and fees. So the amazing thing about all middle schools that I absolutely love is that all middle school students have access to participate in sports and participate in many, many, many clubs. The main thing, if you do both, is your child needs to have paid something called an ASB card fee. And when you go to the school district, the pay online portal, under your school, there will be a link that says ASB, and then you can click on that. I, for example, forgot to do it during my EVP, and I just paid for my ASB fee, and I bought my daughter a yearbook just today. So it's not too late. Just make sure you do it, especially if your child plans on participating in sports and clubs, because if they have not done it, then they are not eligible to participate in sports and clubs. So your child can do a sport every season, and there are 4 seasons. And to do sports, it's $50 per season. If your child has done sports for 3 seasons, that fourth season is usually free because you've already paid for so many. The big thing about doing sports is you need to have all of these forms completed in a portal known as Final Forms. And there are many forms. So just read, sign, read, sign. Sometimes you need to submit stuff. And the big thing you need to submit is called a sports physical. The sports physical is actually a physical um, attestation from your child's medical provider, and a medical provider has to sign that says your child is eligible to participate in sport activities. So for us, when I went to my child's last pediatric appointment, I let her know that I was going to need her to sign that, and she did it. And I took the form with me. 1 year, my older daughter, I forgot, and I just took the form with me, and it was within a month, and she was willing to sign it. If you've not had an appointment in a while, you might have to make a separate appointment for that. And if you have insurance, you can also try to use, some kind of other facility to get it done. Call your pediatrician and see what your options are. Call urgent care facilities, and they sometimes for a fee will be able to do it. But the school, unless you have financial need, the school nurse will not do that for you, but they will help you figure out ways to get it if you have financial need. So on the right, you'll see that there are 4 seasons and what is available during the seasons. So one of the things to note is that most of the teams, not all, cross country and track, honestly, everyone comes, everyone participates. Like track in season 4, because it's the only sport, honestly, sometimes there are like 100, 150 kids in track. It's great because it's a great way for your kids to meet other kids and make friends, and then they're just all running and having fun. Um, and then if you compare that with, let's say, winter one sports, uh, for girls is basketball, and some schools don't have intramural basketball. They just have varsity and JV, JV, which is junior varsity. And so if the kids don't make it into the team, then they are cut. And if they don't have an intramural team, which is just like a fun team, and usually many of the sixth graders are on that team, then they're cut. So it depends on if they have coaches or they're funding for an intramural team. Some schools have intramural teams of certain sports, and other schools don't have intramural teams of certain sports. So, for example, right now there's no softball at most of the schools because they couldn't find coaches and there were some other issues. So if you go to the school's website, you will be able to get a lot of that information about what are some of the sports and teams. And let me show you that. And I'm going to actually use this to navigate to the sports page. So let's say you are let's go with Pine Lake. Now, note, when I go to Pine Lake Middle School, this top thing is the same for every single one of the middle schools and high schools. And you're going to find sports and clubs under the student life tab. So you're going to go to athletics for sports and activities for clubs. So under athletics, it gives you all the information for the sports at that school. It will tell you what season, it'll tell you what day it starts and what day it ends. Notice notice that season one starts on September 8th, and that's at nearly all the schools. Actually, I think that is at all the schools. And it gives you the contact person. Like, let's say you have questions, who do I pay? What is final forms? I can't log in. My daughter can't or son can't complete or create an account. This is the person that you would speak to. And then once you're in that sport, you'll also be able to get more information about who is the coach, what are the days of practice, what is the end time of practice. So, what's the email for these people? So, all of that information is all available on the website under the athletics tab. So, let's say you're going to Maywood, same thing, student life, and then you'll go to athletics. You'll see that they also have four seasons. It's all the same. And then it's giving you the times for that. And then it tells you that tryouts are required. Also, if you, they usually don't ask you to pay for the sport until your child has made it into that team. So let's say you try out for volleyball, but your child did not make it into varsity or junior varsity. No worries, you don't have to pay for it. So you only pay for it if you're actually going to play. And if things work out, maybe there will be some kind of option. Now, several people asked me about badminton. I'm going to say that some schools may offer it as an option. Not all schools, so I know that my daughter's school doesn't have badminton. This school has intramural flag football, and I know another one of the schools has it. So if you're interested, you should go to the school's website and see what sports are being offered as intramural sports or as optional sports, because otherwise they'll have, like, all of the schools have track and field season for boys intramural basketball, boys varsity and JV basketball, girls varsity and JV soccer. The intramural ones not guaranteed at all the schools. So that is sports. And then there's activities. So activities is clubs. One of the things I love about middle schools is how many clubs there are. So if you go to the school district's website, you will notice that there's a tab called clubs, and that will tell you what the clubs are at your child's school. And if you click on the club, it'll tell you who the advisor is. That's like the teacher leading it, what days they meet, what times they meet, all of this information and what they're doing. So usually the clubs have not, they may not have all this information yet because every year it depends on which teacher uh, or faculty member wants to lead the club. So it depends. I know my child, when she was in sixth grade, she wanted to start her own club. And so there's an ASB proposal form to how to start your own club. There are a lot of robotics teams, lots of other teams. here that you can start your own clubs or join a club. But clubs are a great way, and sports are a great way to meet and really meet and make new friends. One of the things for both clubs and sports is that there is a school bus that will transport your child after practice at a certain time. Now, for games that are not on campus, occasionally parents are going to be required to collect the student from the other school, and the coach will provide you information about that. So, for example, when we did have softball at the schools and my daughter was playing softball, sometimes I'd have to go to Maywood or Pacific Cascade and pick her up. But as a parent, usually if there was a game, I attended the game, so it was easy to pick up my child after games anyway. Practices start immediately after school. The kids usually go to the locker room, change into their practice uniform or gear, and then they will go to either the gym or the field, wherever they're meeting. And then after practice, the kids will go to the bus, the activity bus. The one thing you should know though is the activity buses don't drop off the kids at the exact same route that they would go on a normal route. So when my child or my children did sports or clubs, they had to walk more when they were coming home from the after school activity. So keep in mind what the activity bus route is, just so that you know. And I'm going to show that to you right now. So under district, under buses, so when your child sets up, make sure you give that information to them, because right there in the very bottom, hopefully you can all see this, it says extended day activity routes. So let your child know what bus they should be taking. So let's say your child was going to do track and sorry cross country at Maywood. They should know that the bus is going to pick them up Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 4:20, and then these are the only stops. Okay, for that 57. And so there are four buses, and it tells you where it's going to pick up the kids. And the activity bus is the same bus for both Liberty and Maywood kids. Over here, it's for IMS and IHS kids. Cougar Mountain has two activity buses for them. And also note that there's no practice on Fridays. So Friday, your kid is going to not take the activity bus, they'll take a regular bus. And there's also no clubs meeting on Fridays, and so since there's no buses. Okay, so keep that in mind. So I've covered all of this information, and just a reminder that some clubs activity have selected criteria. For example, honor society, your child has to be chosen in seventh grade, and then they will go to honor society meetings in eighth grade. ASB, the leadership is not really a club, it's a group that meets. And so you need to be in the ASB club, so it's a more select one. And if no club exists, a reminder, please make sure that they consider creating a club with some of their friends. Usually you need about 5 or 10 kids, and trying to kind of recruit a staff member to help run that club. We talked about buses and that the child might have to walk a little bit longer because activity buses are not in the same place. And make sure you look for the sign on the bus, not the painted sign, the white sign in the window by the entry door. Okay. So curriculum. Many parents asked questions about math pathways and the school curriculum. So the key for that, I would recommend, is that you go to curriculum night at the school to get a lot of this information, because at curriculum night, not only they tell you what they're teaching your class, your child, but they'll also go over the class expectations. They'll talk about what is the procedure. What if your child turned in assignments late? What happens? What if your child made mistakes? Are there test corrections? Can children retake a test? The Issaquah School District, we do have a retake policy for students so they can improve and learn. So the teachers most often have some type of test correction or retake policy. And how does that work? When do they take the test? What day? How do they do that? Because in high school, they usually do it during something called flex time. So in middle school, for that teacher, very often they might have a period where they do it. So how does that work? Um, we have a materials review committee. So if you are interested in looking at being part of the committee as a parent, every now and then they'll post a news bulletin on the IST news saying we're looking for people. But nearly every single one of you, when your child's schedule comes out on Wednesday around 3:30, you will see that your child has an English class, a math class, a science class, a social studies class, a PE/health class, and then elective class of some sort. The elective could be an all-year band, all-year orchestra, all-year chorus. Maybe they have another elective because all of the schools have some fun electives that kids can do. If your child is starting in sixth grade, I would highly recommend them joining band or orchestra if they like to sing chorus. I am always impressed as a teacher of middle school for 15 years how our band and orchestra teacher takes people with absolutely no training in playing an instrument and through the sixth grade year teach them. But the key thing is sixth grade. My child after sixth grade wasn't interested in playing the instrument anymore, but many kids continue playing that instrument all through middle school and go on to high school learning that. And then note, you'll also have some kind of homeroom class. In different schools, it's called a different name, but that homeroom is where the announcements and social emotional learning is done. So again, just a push and a suggestion and tip to attend curriculum night at IMS. It's called Panthapalooza, but it's really a great way to learn more about the school expectations or the teachers' expectations. Because many of you asked, what can I do to support my child? How can I help increase independence? We'll do a little bit more tips for that. But the first step would be listen to what the teacher is asking you for. The first 2 days of school, the teacher will also send home syllabuses, and they'll very often say, read and sign it. But make sure you're really reading that carefully and understanding and asking questions if you don't, because that's really going to help you understand what to expect and how to help your child in that specific class that year. So, Canvas is honestly the main way that parents can stay connected with what's going on in the class. So make sure that you are periodically checking Canvas. I personally signed up so that I get an email from Canvas every day at 6 o'clock telling me what grades my child got in the assignments that the teacher graded that day or any announcements, what grades, what assignments have been added, or so forth. So some people like to be passive and get an email with all this information, and other parents I know like to go into Canvas and read and check and see what's going on. Some parents are both. So figure out who you are, and it might also depend on what type of a learner your child is, if you need and how much you need to support them. But the main thing I tell parents, especially in sixth grade, is your role is a mentor and coach. So I wouldn't spend too much time on your own searching through Canvas and figuring it all out. Sometimes consider sitting with your child on Canvas and saying, see if they know how to use it. Say, hey, have you checked your grades? Here are your grades. Oh, you have I see you have an assignment that you did not do. Do you know where the assignment is? Can I help you, with it? Do you need anything? Do you need to ask the teacher for help? Have you, when they're studying for tests, very often kids in middle school don't know how to study for tests because in elementary school they've not had really robust tests. Or when they study, they tend to memorize everything rather than truly understanding and critically thinking about the content. So, how do you support them with this? So, really consider yourself as a mentor and coach, or ask them, so, what did the teacher say about studying for the test? What were some of their tips to make sure you understand the content and you're feeling prepared for it? So, and Canvas is the main way. So for me, I don't get many in middle school. Teachers don't really email you specifically as a parent. They may, on occasion, email the whole class saying, "This for this module, we'll be learning blah, 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 and blah this week. Or sometimes I'd get an email saying, parents are, the students will be doing this project. We're assigning it this week. It'll be due on this week, just FYI. But in middle school, there's less of a back and forth between parents and teachers per se. The expectation is if a student has a question, they will ask the teacher. So if you're trying to figure out how to help your child, help coach them on how to approach the teacher when to ask a question, because sometimes they want to go and interrupt in the middle of a lesson. Suggest maybe before the class starts, or stay a few minutes when the class ends and there's a time, go and ask them there. Or when there's a pause in the day, in the classroom period, go and ask them. So just information like that. Students in Canvas, we learned that they all have access, direct link on how to email their teacher via their Canvas account. You can help them with that communication. How do you email an adult, a teacher? How do you write that email? Sometimes kids, they text all the time, but they don't really know how to write a letter. So consider how to craft a letter and help your child learn to email their teacher. While there's no one-to-one parent-teacher meeting in middle school, if something is going on, please make sure you're emailing the teacher. And if there's something more robust and you want to meet with the teacher, you have the right to email the teacher and ask for a parent-teacher meeting. And depending on what's going on, like if this is something that's impacting multiple classes or you're seeing a trend in multiple classes, you might want to include the school counselor and ask some of the other teachers to be part of it. But the big thing I tell parents all the time is make sure you're reading the emails coming from the teacher and also from the school. So in our next slide, the school district just today, hot off the presses, sent an email to all families on how to stay informed and up to date. And a couple things they recommended and suggested is one, read the school bulletin. So school bulletins come out every Thursday between 4 and 6. So this week on Thursday, you'll get one from your school between 4 and 6. Chances your school might send you something on Wednesday just because they're releasing your middle school class schedule. So they might give you a kind of a nudge, a heads up. But today is Monday, and you all saw that you all received an email around 4. So it's usually between 4 and 6. And the district bulletin is general stuff for the whole district, but you saw that they had a lot of information. Emergency information on my slide. I have this information, but they're really recommending that you opt in and text this number 67587, the word yes, saying that you're willing to get text messages. The district cannot use the system unless you opt in. And some parents then say stop and unsubscribe. But for me, I like this opt in, this 67587, because last year when we had the bomb cyclone, that's how I got all my texts saying that the school was closed. When there was snow route changes and delays, I got all my texts from them. A couple times I got a text for my child's bus saying the bus was delayed or something. So keep that in mind. You can also proactively go to the school's website. The school district also has social media, Instagram, Facebook, and so forth. And then Flash Alert, that's another thing. You can visit the Issaquah School District Flash Alert and create an account so that you can get information that was sent to local media. But honestly, this one right there, that's a great one. And also making sure you're reading all the bulletins so that you're getting information sent to you if there is something going on at school. So check out this email. It's the first step in staying informed. And then I have more information about this. If I send this to you, or if you read the bulletin, you can opt in so that you'll get the notices. And that's a great way of school delays, school closings, safety alerts. In case they have like a lockdown or some kind of emergency at the school, they will also use that. But honestly, the school will send an email to all parents if there's something going on at the school. So keep that in mind. The school has a lot of safety protocols already built in and that we test and use to make sure our students and our schools are safe. We have someone known as a school counselor, if you're not familiar with that. Every school has, middle school has two school counselors, and the school counselor is based on the child's last name, and that counselor will be the same counselor to all 3 years of middle school. The school counselor is also a great liaison, a connection between parents and teachers if they're, especially the child is having needing academic support or if there's some kind of social emotional need or if there's a behavioral concern, the school counselor is a great source of information and assistance. If your family is experiencing financial need or you need some financial support, you can talk to the school counselor. Sometimes when I talk to parents, they are very hesitant in talking to a school counselor because they feel like it's a stigma that, something's wrong with my child, the social emotional issue, they have anxiety and depression, or, you know, there's just sometimes a stigma. Just want to make sure you all realize that now more than ever, it's really important that we support our children through their social emotional well-being, especially at a middle school level. Mental health is definitely a big crisis. So if you have any concerns, if you're noticing something with your child, please don't hesitate to start partnering with a school counselor to best support your child. So, how can you support your child? One, normalize the nerves. Let your child know that it's okay to feel nervous. Many students are going to do it first. Reassure them it gets easier with time. I will personally tell you that when I was a middle school student, it was very nerve-wracking. And as a teacher in a middle school for 15 years, I could see that. But through the course of the year, kids come to love it and they get so comfortable there, and it's so joyous to watch them. Very often, by the way, in school, the kids are lovely, and even though sometimes they're struggling with behavioral issues at home, so their behavior sometimes at school is very different, much more positive. Sometimes it's the opposite, but their peers are with them, and so there's a need sometimes to show up a certain way. So explore their interests with them, talk about clubs and sports, encourage them to join clubs and sports and other activities, especially if you feel that they're not getting involved. Go through the website, talk about the options they have. The school also makes a lot of announcements at school during that homeroom class. So have them be listening to what clubs are coming up. If your child is interested in something, see if they want to start a new club if it doesn't exist and see what you can do to support them with that. Review the bell schedule just so they know, because if you look at the bell schedule, there's about a 4 or 5 minute passing time. So note that the first couple days of school, chances are they're going to be late, especially if your school has many floors, which most of the schools nowadays does. So they'll complain to you and say, Mom, I've got to walk from this corner of the school all the way across and go up 3 flights of stairs. I want you to know it is possible, but they just have to get going. It's kind of like when you're in college or if you had that experience and you're going from one end of the university to the other and you have like 10 minutes to make it. So the school knows that it's possible. And if your child is having lots of struggles, work with the school and they can come up with a plan for you. Pack the lunch the first week because it's crowded and stressful, and you want to give them something good and hearty so they are not struggling that first week of school, being hungry plus being stressed out. So, you don't want hungry children coming home or at school. Monitor Canvas. They're probably not sixth grade, especially not going to use Canvas for at least the first week. The teachers are going to show them how and teach them. So don't worry. Sixth grade, especially, the teachers teach them, they sit with them and kind of walk them through the whole Canvas modules. So once they're doing that, then, good ways to do it is show me what you did. How are you navigating it? Where are your assignments? And then you could be learning Canvas at the same time so that you can kind of talk about what you see. And then do regular check-ins, ask open-ended questions. I'm going to tell you right now, many middle schoolers, you say, Hi, honey, how was your day? Fine. What'd you do? Nothing. you're going to get those one word questions. So figure out how you can kind of eke more information out of them. How can you ask those? I would usually say, what was the best thing you did today? What was the most annoying thing you did today? Or asking them questions to encourage conversation. And so they can't shut me down by saying, fine, nothing. They still will on certain times. So be patient. Many middle schoolers, if they haven't gotten there yet, through the course of sixth grade, it's very difficult. Towards the end of sixth grade, middle schoolers become more middle school. Seventh grade is very hard. And through eighth grade, they become lovely kids that you had before, and they're more confident, and hormones are less of an issue. And this is coming from 15 years of teaching middle schoolers and now going through a second child in eighth grade and going through middle school. So a big difference from if you grew up in other country and you did not attend a U.S. school. One of the things about U.S. school system is really helping and encouraging self-advocacy in students. So encouraging students to participate, encouraging students to ask questions, encouraging students to ask for help from the teacher, encouraging the students to be owners of their own education. And so it's less about you advocating for them, but more about you modeling what self advocacy looks like and teaching them and practicing with them how to communicate with a teacher, how to ask for help, when to ask for help. Because from 6th through 12th grade, that independence is really key to that we do with students. Now, that doesn't mean you're not allowed to email or call a parent. 100% not. You can do that. But we always encourage the kid to do it first and then you to come in if it's not working. So help your child find out how to connect, or if there's a bigger issue and you really need to be the one facilitating this conversation because something's going on. So help your child how to find out how to connect with teachers, see what the teacher says on Canvas or in their syllabus on best ways to reach out to them, best time to reach out to them, and so forth, and how to use homeroom wisely because they do have this homeroom time. Many parents asked me about volunteer opportunities, and I'm going to honestly say in middle school, unlike elementary school, there are few opportunities to volunteer in the classroom. The one time that I had the opportunity was for the frog dissection in one school, and in another school, they did not allow volunteers for the frog dissection. So find out when they do, but always fill out the volunteer application form just in case an opportunity does show up. Join PTSA. I just screenshot something from the high school and send it to my email because, especially the high school, but definitely the middle school, PTSA sometimes posts or often post important announcements like picture day is coming up, or don't forget to buy a yearbook, or remember all parents, this is a early release day. So having another way to get some of this information is helpful because all of us have very busy lives and it's easy for us to have forgotten some important announcement made by the school. So keep those things in mind. So if possible, join the school social media group or maybe the PTSA social media group so that you're getting information. And make sure you're reading the emails that are coming to you from the school every Thursday. And we are wrapped up. We are the last page. So this is going to be in the slide deck, but it's also on the school's website, on my website for family partnership. So if you need it before I send you the email, note that under my family partnerships page, there is the liaisons page that tells you also what their texting number is, what their phone numbers are, and all this information, what schools they work with. So you can get it from there, and you're welcome to email us anytime between now and school starts and after school starts. And then finally, if you want a copy of the slide deck, please don't hesitate to complete the feedback form. It sounds like I did a bad job this time. I don't know how, but I don't have couple schools, and it's okay. If you give me your email address, I can actually look up your school. And so just mark one of the other schools. I won't use that data, given that I made a mistake on the form. So the main thing is giving me your email address and then answering questions or putting in questions that you want me to help you with and letting me know if you need a liaison to reach out to you. And then I also have our Canvas event that's coming up on September 15th. Just like our students, some kids can watch the videos and navigate new apps very easily, and other parents might need a little bit more help. Some parents might be more interested in watching an event and learning how to navigate Canvas and getting tips. So if you want to come to that event, I have the registration form in the sign up sheet, I'm sorry, in the chat, so you can ask me. And that's the end of the slide deck. I am going to actually go back and put the website out here just so that if you need to ask me questions, I can navigate to find you the answer. So I am going to answer some questions from my registration form, but this is a great time for you to be one, completing the feedback form, two, typing a question in chat, or three, if you have a question, you can unmute yourself and just say, excuse me, I have a question. So let's go with this first question. What PE change of clothes requires from kids? So if you go to the portal under Pay Online, you will go into your, I don't know, this is my current thing, but when you go in, it's wrong. So you will have a link that says Issaquah High School, but there will be some place for you to pay for a PE uniform. So for me, I was able to uh, pay for a t-shirt for my child, and then I also bought shorts. She didn't like her shorts, so I bought her long pants. So some schools, they give you the option of long pants or shorts. Some schools don't. So depending on what your child needs, you might want to choose. Um, oh, that makes sense. So it sounds like I put uh, the link for the elementary families. That's why it doesn't have any of the middle schools. But ignore the school, just randomly choose any of the schools. It doesn't matter. The main thing is to give me your email address and then answer the other questions. Thank you for letting me know. I put the feedback form for the elementary school families instead. So moving on to next question. So understanding the courses in eighth grade and what to care and pay extra attention to be prepared for high school. So right now, all the classes you take in sixth and seventh grade are kind of high school preparedness. And also they do something called high school and beyond, which are activities to help them think what they want to do for their career and what they want to do for their future. And through these activities, in part of some a thing called high school and beyond, which is a graduation requirement in high school, all of this builds up to helping them when they get to high school figure out what classes they're interested in so that they can choose a class that best suits them. So, other questions you might have? Okay, how does security system work? Until you have a question for me, I'm just going to look at the questions on the registration form. So many of the schools have a school resource officer on campus. To enter the school is locked, so you have to be buzzed in. And by buzzing in, you're able to get into the just the office. And then to get out of the office, you have to be buzzed in also. So note that parents are not allowed kind of behind the into the school unless they have access to it. So one second, collect responses. Okay, thank you to those who told me that my link was wrong. I am now entering the right link. So if you've not done it, and don't do it again, I'll look at both of them. Okay, so moving on. How can we take optional courses to earn high school credits? So if you can see if you're eligible, if your child, if you can take online classes. If you're a sixth grader, they usually don't have online classes. Usually online classes start at seventh grade level. And then you have to see if your child is eligible to take these online classes. Some of the online classes, like geometry, are acceptable for high school credit, but it'll depend on what class you're coming in with. So, for example, for geometry, you need to have completed Algebra 1. Sometimes the online school program does have classes that you can take, and let me show you where that is so that you can kind of explore. But if your child is just starting in sixth grade or new, um, it's something that we don't really encourage kids to do just because they sometimes are so stressed out. And when we've asked parents, kids, who's taking this just because their parents are telling them to do so, many of the kids say it's them. And so it's really, we want to make sure that they're also wanting to do it themselves because it is extra work and more expectations. So the online program is, sure. So Lena, am I sharing my screen for the school district website? Yeah, okay, perfect. So if you go to,
Yes.
again, I'm under programs and services, I'm under middle and high school programs, and then I'm going to go to the tab that says online learning. And so if you go to online learning, you will see the options of classes that students in middle school can take. So the course directory is over here. That'll tell you what classes students can take in middle school. And so like art classes, there are several. And these are just fun, especially if your kid is really interested um, in certain art classes that they don't have the option to take. So these um, electives that are on here. So you can look at this and see what the requirements are. And then the application, I don't know. Yep, it's already closed for this year. So you can look for it at the semester, I believe, um, or summer school and go from there. But it looks like the online, there will be another one, a spring application coming up, um, probably in September, I think. I'm sorry, January. But you can just stay tuned on this page to see, or you can email someone in the online department and find out if be here if the registrar, if your child can take a class later on in the school year at the next semester or next um, kind of time period for it. Okay, I am actually going to stop recording and then